All right, so we are back. So we are saying if we can use this contact heat exchanger, which is just corrugated sheet, and one fluid go in this way while the other one go that way, for example, the hot and the cold, that can have a lot of surface area in such a small, tiny place. Only problem is they will not be able to handle a 7 bar difference between the hot and the cold, right? So how can we still use them? Obviously, solution has to be, we need to make both fluid at the same pressure. And since propane or the working fluid is stuck as his own high pressure because of his TS diagram, you know, like he boil at 9 bar and he condense at 7 bar, this is stuck. So we need to do the pressurizing on the other side, right? So how can we make the water, hot water and cold water from the deep ocean and hot water from the surface, which is at atmospheric pressure, how we can make them that high? Probably cold water is easier because you are thinking, well, cold water is already coming from a deep place. So rather than bringing deep water all the way up to me, why don't I send my condenser down there? If I put my condenser down there, the cold water is already at high pressure because of rho GH, right? If the surface is here and the cold water is being pulled from that place, rho GH, right? Every 10 meters of water is 1 atmosphere, right? So all we need to go is just like go 70 meters down and we get 7 atmosphere. And that is in fresh water. So seawater is a little bit heavier too. So that's what they had in this design. Okay, so the Rankine cycle, which is running between the evaporator, say at 9 bar, 9.9 bar, and the condenser, which is running at say 5 bar, whatever the fluid is. If we put the evaporator here and we put the condenser there, then the cold water, if it go only up to this side, this far down from the surface, 50 meter, the pressure on both sides of the heat exchanger will be 5 bar. The hot water, if you take the hot water down there from the surface, and the propane or the whatever the working fluid is on this side, both of them will end up having 9 bar, right? So you may be thinking, well, but that pump will, I will have to pay a lot of pressure in order to take the water all the way, that surface water, to 10 bar. So if you just bring the water over here, it will be 10 bar, right? Because of the hydrostatic pressure. So this pump is not really doing the pressurizing. This pump, all it does is overcoming the friction in the pipe. All right, it's only the friction loss. F L over D multiplied by V squared over 2G. That's the head of this pump. It's just a circulating pump. But the actual pressurizing happened because of the weight of the water on top of you. Like, shut down this pump for a minute for me. What happened? Water will stop flowing. Pressure here is atmospheric. Pressure here is 10 bar. It's not because of the pump. The pump just, when you want the flow rate to go, that cause extra pressure drop. And without this fan, the flow will not go. So this fan or pump, circulating pump, need to overcome the pressure. So anyway, so this is a creative design. Of course, this is just a conceptual thing because, again, those OTEC units is going to be huge, and it takes a lot of investment, and you need to make sure that it will survive long enough so that you can make your money back. And so to survive in such a harsh environment, what harsh environment? Salty water, waves, hurricanes that can come at that place, depending on where it is. So it has to do a lot with economics too. But design-wise, it's a really good design. And you can pack huge surface area here and huge surface area here. Okay, so what's remaining? maybe a terminal and generator on the top, and a cable to take that energy back to the shore. Right? Very good. So this finished the thermal part of the ocean energy. So we can, how did we utilize that? We had the temperature difference between the surface and deep down there, and we can put a Rankine cycle, whether it's open, and we can, with open, we flash it and we can get vapor out of it. And that vapor, you know, people can actually use it for drinking. And so if you are in a country where they don't have water to drink, because there's no rain and there's no rivers, they would pay to have something like this. They're already paying a lot of money to get fresh water out of the sea anyway, and say in the Middle East. And they had a lot of oil, and they can pay for a design like this. Okay. So, but you still need this big temperature difference between the surface and deep inside. All right. The second way we can utilize energy in the ocean is using potential energy. Okay, so so what is potential energy? It's related to taking something up, right? mgz, that's the potential energy, the mass times the gravity field that you're working against times the height that you work. So if you start here and you drop it, it falls. Why? Because all that potential energy turn into kinetic energy. And so if the way we make energy useful is we turn a shaft so that we can send it to an electrical engineer on the other side with a generator. So we need to turn this drop potential energy into kinetic energy so that we can turn a turbine. So where would we have potential energy like this in the ocean? I'm not talking about like a waterfall in a river, I'm talking on an ocean. When would the ocean go up and down so that we can have this big difference during tide, right? So what is tide? People who live in the coastal area know that the water would really rise and drop, and it go into a cycle. And that cycle has to do with the day and the night. Why?